Hey everybody, this is Derek with the Grumpy Guy Show, talking about episode number 63. We don't research, we just complain. Recorded on Monday, August 29th, 2022. Tonight's topics are VPN that doesn't work unless you jump through hoops, $54 billion isn't enough in profits, and a major security company is hacked again. Stick around, it's a good show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Grumpy Guy Show. I'm Derek McAllister.
I'm Ryan McAllister.
So tonight, if we seem a little bit rushed, we are. There's a storm coming in. Hopefully we can get the recording done before the storm comes through. There are supposedly very powerful thunderstorms that are knocking out power along the way, so I guess worst case scenario, we have to restart and do it all over again tomorrow night. Who knows? We'll see. So what do you say we get right into this?
Let's.
All right. So we only have three topics. Could be long topics. Who knows? But you know we're gonna.
How the show's been recently, we'll be here a while.
Yeah, it certainly could be. But we're going to start out with one of our favorite companies to complain about.
Ooh.
Actually, it's not complaining about the company, it's complaining about the press coverage surrounding Apple. So, listening...
Biased in its favor? Again?
What?
Biased in its favor again?
Oh, yeah. By the press. So I was listening. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast. And you know what? I'm tired of screwing around. I'm just going to tell you. I was listening to Rich on Tech. He's a reporter out of Los Angeles, and he's.
Of course, it's California.
Yeah, he's covered on the main podcast company, twit.tv. He's covered on there a couple of times for the owner of that company, that business, which is how I started following him. And different opinions about tech is a good thing, and not just tech. Different opinions about anything are good to hear. So that's why I continue to listen to him. But at the same time, I'm getting to the point where his over favoritism for Apple, constantly calling it the best phone out there, right after he praises things like the Samsung S22 Ultra or whatever. I don't even know what it is, but he sits there and he praises the Samsung phone up and down, and then somebody asks him what the best phone is, and the Apple iPhone is the best phone out there right now. Now wait a minute. You just got done saying, when you're talking about Samsung, that their camera is great, their software is great, their hardware is better than Apple. But Apple is the best phone?
How?
I don't know. But in this instance, he was sitting there, he was talking about how great Apple is and everything, and then he started saying, even with the VPN problems that are plaguing plaguing this newest release. I'm like, wait, what? So they're the best. That was really weird. A truck just went by, and I can still hear the truck in Ryan's microphone. and I can't hear it outside the window. And Ryan's in the room right above me, so the fact that I can't hear it, but I can still hear it through his microphone is just really weird.
It's funny.
Anyhow.
Anyway.
So he's talking about the iPhone and how it's this great thing, and then he starts talking about problems that they have with a VPN. And I actually made notes, so if I'm looking over here, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So the VPN on iOS doesn't... Wow. I made bad notes, folks. Let me read it exactly. A VPN on iOS doesn't row everything through the VPN unless you circle. I mean, I'll finish talking about the rest, but
The hell did you write?
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be run. So here's the thing. He's talking about this VPN. I believe it's built into iOS. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. I think it's off by default. But if you turn it on, it doesn't necessarily put everything, all of your internet traffic through this VPN. Unless unless you cycle airplane mode, but not the standard airplane mode that's in your pull down notifications. No, you have to actually go into the regular airplane mode, because apparently the standard airplane mode that's in your pull down doesn't turn off all connections. And I'm like, wait a minute. Huh? So there's two different airplane modes, and we're constantly sitting there talking about how Elon Musk has confused everybody by calling their their self-driving autopilot. But yeah, it's pretty damn simple. It's supposed to automatically drive the car. Okay, I get how that's a bad thing, but you're calling something airplane mode that isn't actually airplane mode. Do you know what kind of trouble that could get somebody in on an airplane? I mean, seriously, what the hell is this? Let's make something that doesn't actually work right unless you know this odd workaround that's going to get you all of this other crap and actually do what you want, do what you're expecting it to do. But the fact that you have to actually do this, to me, is utterly ridiculous. If I turn on a VPN, all traffic should route through the VPN. And in case somebody doesn't know what VPN is, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. Basically, what it does is it says, oh, you want to send something to the internet. Well, we're going to hide that from your ISP, your internet service provider, and we're going to send it through our servers. Now, most VPNs, the difference between doing that and having it just go through your ISP is that VPN companies are supposedly more trustworthy. Really what it comes down to is you have to decide who's more trustworthy, your ISP or this VPN company. Because all of your internet traffic has to be not necessarily monitored, but no matter where you're going through, whether you're going through your ISP directly or through this VPN, when you send a signal that you want to go to a certain website, you're telling the server on the other end that, hey, send me this web page. So someplace, somewhere along the way, something has to know that you've requested a particular web page and send the request to the web page, get it back, and send it back to you. So, you have to decide, is this VPN company more trustworthy than your ISP, or is your ISP more trustworthy than this VPN? If you decide that the VPN is more trustworthy and you want to pay for it, go for it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But the fact that on iOS this does not work correctly just blows my mind away, that this guy's like, oh yeah, this is a great thing. This is the best phone out there. Except when it doesn't work right. But I'm still going to tell you it's the best phone. Like, come on, man. What the hell? Seriously, that note is something else. But not the standard airplanes mode, because that doesn't turn off all workers' connections.
Were you drinking when you typed that?
No, the sad thing is I was like at lunch For work,
No
I'm
crispy
taking
beers
lunch.
were involved whatsoever.
No. And I'm like, wow. I was doing it on my phone, and it was probably a whole bunch of autocorrect, and
Hmm.
I don't know. So some of the worst things going out there with phones right now is autocorrect. It seems, I can't speak for iPhone on this. I can speak for Android and specifically Google's keyboard. Autocorrect is annoying.
It is.
You know, I mean, sure, it's great when it catches things, but in this case, iOS doesn't row everything. How the hell can it get row from run?
I don't know.
I'm just like, come on. You know, I suppose it's much better than it was 10 years ago,
Hmm.
I suppose. I don't
How
know.
bad was it 10 years ago?
Well, 10 years ago was when people still didn't understand that you could send full words.
Mm-hmm.
Everything had to be abbreviated because they were still in the mode of, oh, to get a C, I have to press, what was it, the 2 like
Mm-hmm.
3 times just to get a
Hmm.
C. So, typing full words was a real pain. And that was more than 10 years ago, but still.
Mm-hmm.
People were still in that mode. So reading a text, I mean, with this message, this note, I can understand what it says.
Mm-hmm.
10, 15 years ago with a text message, that would have been a total mess. It wouldn't, you wouldn't have been able to put that in one text message. Plain and simple. I mean, that sentence is a whole lot more than you could fit in 2 text messages. And of course, the thing that would suck is you'd start typing it all out, and then you wouldn't know until you got to the very end and tried to send it that it was too long. And it wouldn't tell you that, it wouldn't say, well, you've got, you got 20 characters too many. No, it'd say too long, can't send.
Hmm.
So that's why texting it wasn't the thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now though, it doesn't matter whether you're using Apple or iOS. You can have text messages. You can type in, a text message that's like 1,000 characters, and it'll send it as however many texts it needs to just to send it, and then whatever phone's on the other end is just going to put them together so it looks like one message instead of the 15 that it is. But
Hmm.
oh well, that wasn't the case.
So what do you say we move on to the next topic?
Oh, see, he's trying to do my famous transitions.
Our world famous transitions?
Yeah, there you go. World famous. We'll go with that. So next, everybody knows that only a couple of companies made a whole lot of money in 2021, or 2020 Part 2, as you continue to call it. So those companies were Moderna and Pfizer. Both of them made billions of dollars. And I'm not talking just a couple of billion. I'm talking like $54 billion was the lower of the two.
Mm-hmm.
So, as if Moderna didn't earn enough with that, they've decided we have to sue Pfizer because they supposedly stole our mRNA technology.
Mm-hmm.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, part of the reason it took Johnson & Johnson a lot longer to release a vaccine is because they were doing it the old school way, where basically you I'm not exactly sure because I'm not a scientist, but the basics are you somehow get a dead version of the virus to create a vaccine so that it's not harmful, but it causes your body to react and create antibodies.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a lot longer to develop, takes a lot longer to prove that it works, to test and everything. So it took them a lot longer. mRNA technology is basically custom making something to specifically target the virus. That's why these vaccines are so effective, because they're specifically targeting the virus itself. So it's not, it's still causing your body to create antibodies, but it does it in a much different way, in a much more effective way, and a much faster way, because it's using technology to create it. The fact that it's got to be chilled at such a freaking low temperature. I think it was like, it's got to be kept at minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that until
Holy
just
crap.
before use. And then if you have a very short window of time in which to use it, and if you go beyond that window of time, it's got to be thrown out. So, there's still a lot to be learned with it, but it's a very promising technology, because it could eventually lead to things that attack cancers and attacks AIDS, so that we can actually end these things. So as soon as they're detected, we can, you've got kidney cancer. Okay, well, here's an mRNA. It's going to go in, it's going to attack the kidney cancer and nothing else. Unlike current methods, kidney cancer is not a great example, because the only way you can stop kidney cancer is if you catch it early enough and remove the kidney before it spreads. But other forms of cancer, like lung cancer or something like that, they detect it, then they could say, hey, here we go, here's this vaccine. It's going to, they give it to you, and it attacks the cancer, shrinks the tumor, gets rid of it. Unlike the current stuff, which is basically inject your body with radiation and hope that you can shrink the tumor.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of promise with mRNAs. But, and I'll put a link to the article in the show notes. Pfizer has decided that, or not Pfizer, Moderna has decided that Pfizer copied them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it took, even though their vaccines are completely different, and their vaccine, all right, I shouldn't say completely different. They're different. They have different effective rates. So how can it be a copy? And you didn't make enough money with that huge, $54 billion in profits. That wasn't sales. That was profits. That's not enough. You got to go and start up this stupid lawsuit? Come on. And this is why the consumer gets screwed over, because some judge is going to award this. Say, oh, yeah, they copied them, okay. And it's the consumers that lose. It's not these businesses. Obviously, I think Moderna made more than Pfizer. I think. I don't remember. But, either way, they're both well up into the double digits in billions of dollars in profits, just because of this vaccine. That's not taking into account anything else that they sell. It's just these vaccines. And now, we got to sue them. Come on. Like I said, some judge is going to say, oh, yep, that's it. They copied you. Which means that, Moderna's going to make more money, and then they're going to have something over Pfizer, and Pfizer's not going to be able to actually create any other mRNA vaccines without paying Moderna some kind of freaking royalty. It's such a loss for consumers. I understand that these companies, they've spent a lot of money in researching and everything. But $54 billion in profits in one
Mm-hmm.
year. Come on. Enough is enough.
54 billion.
Yeah. It's just it. I find it completely ridiculous. But it's the way the world works. It's
But
all
hey,
about money.
what do I know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I understand that you got to make money off your research, but that's why you sell the products.
Mm-hmm.
If it took them the same amount of time to develop a vaccine that had the same exact effective rate. Sorry, I can't go saying efficacy. It just sounds weird to me. So, yeah, I got to say effective rate. Deal with it, people.
Mm.
But, if everything matched exactly, okay, I could kind of understand it. But it didn't. So that tells me that Pfizer used a different process. Just because it's an mRNA doesn't mean that it's the same process. That'd be like saying, "Oh, General Motors made a car. Must be it was a copy of Ford's."
And then Chrysler copied GM.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. It's ridiculous. But at any rate, so that's it.
Chrysler at this point is the other two, but with Italian money being put into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not much left to Chrysler anymore. Some very bad management choices.
Mm.
But like I said, I'll put the link in the show notes for that article. It's from CNN. It just outlines the basics. It's not anything really fancy, but if we actually have an article, then I'm gonna try and make sure that it gets put into the show notes so you can see. Because if you haven't figured it out, folks, we don't do a whole lot of research. This is just complaining.
We're not here to research. We're here to complain.
That's right. All right. So what do you say we get to our last topic?
All right, moving on.
All right. Moving on. As soon as you said that, I started thinking of the Muppets. Moving right along.
Exactly, that's what I thought of too.
And don't get me wrong, folks. I love the Muppets. I think they're hilarious. But anyway. So.
What has the Muppets franchise been up to lately? Not
Nada.
much.
Nothing, because they were bought out by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
But
they've done nothing since their last movie.
Yeah. So, last topic that we have for tonight. A major password security company has been hacked.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is bad news. This isn't one of our griping things. This is bad news. So the company LastPass, which is one of the largest password generation storage companies out there, they claim to have over 20 million active users. Basically what it is you have one password to get in, and then you can have random passwords generated for every site so that you're not using the same password over and over again. And you only have one password to remember. So this is, I believe the article states, the third year in a row that they've had security issues. And I'm just like, all right, so if I remember hearing correctly, LastPass is like $40 a month or something like that. Maybe it's only $20. I don't know. I don't use it. But all I can think is, holy crap, 3 years in a row you've been hacked. And of course they keep claiming that, oh, well, it's not actually that we've gotten hacked. It's one developer, or, it's one person with a really weak password. And I'm like, No, that doesn't cut it for me. You're a password company, you know? I mean, people are relying on your service. They're paying for your service to not only keep their passwords safe and secure, but, to keep everything safe and secure. So if you don't have very strict guidelines on how your developers and your network admins have, set their passwords, there's something wrong. And it sounds to me like a company that I don't want to do business with.
Neither do I. You said this wasn't the first time they got hacked?
Third year in a row. And again, I will put a link to the article.
Yikes.
I'll put a link to the article in the show notes. But seriously, 3 years in a row that they've been hacked. Now they claim that nothing has come of it out of any of these hacks. Nothing has happened, nobody's accounts have been compromised or anything like that, but seriously, if a hacker is getting in there, if they're getting into their network, what's going to stop that hacker from getting what they really truly want, which is credit card information? They don't care so much about getting your passwords. If they can get your credit cards and charge them through the roof before you even know it's happened, guess what? They've done what they wanted. They've gotten rich without having to actually work. I mean, because again, I don't use LastPass. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that it works like most other password managers, where when you set a password, that is the encryption key for your account, which means if this hacker gets in and they steal your database, your password database, the only way they're going to be unable to unencrypt it is with your password. Which is why most of these password management companies suggest using a passphrase, which means a sentence or something that's unique. Not just a password like, hey, password 123 or something like that. No, they're suggesting that you put in a phrase like, hey, you know what? This is the best password manager out there. Because the longer it is, the more complex it is, the harder it is for them to guess. But not only is it hard for them to guess, it also makes it so that it takes a long time for their computers to continually go through and figure it out. So basically what that's saying is people's passwords are, their password vaults or databases or whatever they want to be called by whatever company, they're going to be fairly safe because that main password encrypts the database, which makes it so that it's going to be fairly impossible for somebody to steal that, get into it, and get into bank accounts or anything like that. But the fact that this company has been hacked 3 times, it's only a matter of time before they get hacked and somebody figures out how to actually do a calculation, come up with all of the passwords for every single password database that's out there. And within this article, there's a link to another one, suggesting, hey, if you want to get out of LastPass, here's some alternatives. Some of which are free, some of which cost money. Everybody's got to find what works for you. Personally, I use KeePass, which is an open source system. One of the advantages, and it's pointed out in this article, one of the advantages is that it's reviewed by a third party who doesn't have anything to do with the development of the program. And the other advantage is, guess where your data is stored? Your password manager database. It's stored wherever you want to put it. You want to put it on Dropbox, you want to put it on OneDrive, you want to put it on Google Drive, you want to put it on iCloud, wherever you want to do it. You want to just store it on your phone? not smart, but sure, go ahead. And if it's stored in some kind of cloud drive, doesn't matter what company. I mean, yeah, there's limits to what companies it supports, but if it's stored in some kind of cloud drive, guess what? That cloud drive is going to be encrypted, which means first they'd have to break into your cloud drive, and then after that they'd have to break into, they'd have to decrypt your cloud drive, and then they'd have to decrypt your database. Double encryption, which makes it very difficult to get into. On top of the fact that the software itself is constantly monitored, constantly updated, constantly reviewed by security professionals who do this in their spare time just because they enjoy doing it. That's how all open source software works. All right, I shouldn't say all. That's how all free open source software works. Is people do this because they just enjoy programming, or they enjoy reviewing somebody else's programming. That's the way that it goes, folks. So, I seriously suggest looking into some of these free things just to see what they are. Whether it's your password manager or your two-factor authentication app, which again I use a free and open source version. You really got to look into what am I paying for? What am I getting with my paid subscription that I'm not getting with something free? In this case with LastPass, well, you're paying them a lot of money to take a chance with your data. But anyhow, so you probably heard the music starting up.
In that case, good night.
We'll see ya.